I was looking for a reason to shine, reaching out past my second body, reaching out past my mind, into the darkness, into the darkness, into the darkness of what we don't know, into the place behind the place we never go. And now I'm coming all the way around. Now I'm coming all the way around. We left our skins on the shore last night. We were drinking from a bottle of time. I felt the tug of your blood, the lean of your love. I heard your heart's electric whine. And you're with me, you're so with me, you're so with me when you're far away. I think of all the time it took to learn to stay. And now we're coming all the way around. Now we're coming all the way around.
It's Chuck from Above the Basement, Boston Music and Conversation, the official podcast partner of the Boston Music Awards. 2017 sees the Boston Music Awards celebrate their 30th anniversary on December 7th at House of Blues in Boston. Tickets are open to the public and on sale now via the Boston Music Awards website at bostonmusicawards.com. The night will feature multiple live performances from nominated artists, and winners will also be announced that night. So if you want to see who wins firsthand, make sure you grab tickets. I sat with singer-songwriter and instrumentalist Kris Delmhorst, where we talked about recording her new album, The Wild, her upcoming tour, her dreams of having a porch to play guitar in with her musician husband, Jeffrey Foucault, who co-produced the new album with her, and whether or not to sing with your eyes open or closed. Yep, we talked about that. Ron is still on a brief hiatus this month, so I invited the wonderful Rose Polenzani to co-host with me. Rose is a singer-songwriter as well, and the host of the roving band of musicians Sub Rosa. She has also sung on some of Kris's past recordings, including a Cars cover album that Kris did back in 2011. This episode was recorded at the famous Club Passim in Cambridge, Massachusetts, in the heart of Harvard Square. The mission of Passim is to provide truly exceptional and interactive live musical experiences for both performers and audiences, to nurture artists at all stages of their career, and to build a vibrant music community. They do so through their legendary listening venue, music school, artist grants, and outreach programs. For more information, visit passim.org. Okay, so here is our conversation with Kris Delmhorst, recorded at Club Passim in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
So I haven't really prepared anything, but I've listened to the record a bunch. But do I need to be prepared?
We will not ask you who your influence is.
Oh, I love you.
Is that on the list? Is there a list?
There's a list of things we don't...
No, it's not at all. No, that's one of the ones that I always like.
We'll talk about anything you want. Cool. I mean, I have notes, but that's just so there's not too much dead air on this thing.
Great.
So where are you coming from?
Just now I did an interview on video, which is why I'm glad that this one's not on video, because I'm not feeling video ready today.
Yeah. Well, actually, before we even talk to you, Rose.
Hey,
hi Rose.
How you doing, Kris?
I'm
Good
so
to
happy
see you.
you're here.
Oh, I
Rose
know, me too.
Polenzani, right? Is that how you pronounce it?
That's how you say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wrote it down just because
It's phonetic. It's nice and easy, really.
Yeah.
It
How
is.
else would you say it?
just remembering it more than
Yeah.
pronounce.
That's right. It's a lot of syllables.
It is. Anything more than two, I have difficulty with. Thank you for doing this.
I'm so happy to be here. It's something it's not totally foreign to me, but I don't do it much, and I never prepare for it or try to record it when I've done any interviewing. So I was like, let's just try.
That's
let's
so
just
cool.
have fun.
Did you guys just meet
cool.
at the show the other day?
We didn't even meet at the show.
We didn't meet at the show.
I see.
I met you. I met Alistair. I met Mark Orelli.
Yep.
And then I knew Jennifer Kimball already. And I think who's the tall bass dude?
Zach.
Zach.
Yeah.
And I just didn't get to meet you for there's a lot of people there.
There were a lot of people there.
But that was why I asked you, because you were so fantastic with that. We actually talk about it in the episode with Mook about the
stranger.
The stranger.
Yeah.
When he went up, maybe I put my own nervousness on him.
Oh, no.
I felt bad for him.
I can't imagine not being nervous
Yeah.
walking up.
What a weird situation.
And he goes up. I'm like, I'm thinking, everyone's rooting for him. He's going to do well. And he had an electric guitar. And then he blows everybody away.
I know.
Yeah.
And he was so different from what you expected he was going to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, exactly. You thought it was going to be, some metalhead or something.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And then you started asking him questions, which is what, as soon as you started asking questions, I'm like, oh, she's got to be a guest host one of these days.
Oh, thanks.
But so that's why I asked, because I thought that was a very charming interview at Sub Rosa.
Thank
Always
you.
a charming interview at Sub Rosa.
That's the first one I've been to, though.
It's always a little left of what you normally would ask. I mean, this is different because I know Kris.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
that's another reason why.
I've had to interview somebody I knew. Lori Sargent was once a stranger,
yeah.
and I know her, and that was very strange.
I bet.
I
love the danger of that moment in that show. Like,
Yeah.
it's real
Yeah.
danger for everybody. It's
Yeah.
so exciting.
I used to get so nervous that I would start to say kind of mean things, which everyone thought was hilarious, but after a while I felt really bad about. So, yeah. So
I didn't notice that when you talked to the kid, though.
Well, no, because I've been working on it. Like, at the beginning, I'm like, I literally say a little prayer in my head, and I'm like, do not go there with these people.
That's funny.
Try to be nice.
That's what nervousness makes you do.
Yeah.
It's like fight or flight.
It's easy.
You have fight.
Yeah, I fight. It's like easy humor is kind of like making fun of, like we always joke about when we had Ward Hayden, because he told us that he lived in his parents' basement, and I was merciless with him.
I just say the same words over and over again. Those good words like great and fantastic and what do you call those? Superlatives?
Yeah, superlatives.
So I used to say phenomenal a lot. And I'm like, I got to stop saying that frickin' word. So I don't say it anymore. But you only have a certain amount of words you can use to describe who you're talking to. This is the kind of stuff we talk about, by the way. So
Yeah.
You feel better now?
I love this, yeah.
All right, good.
Do this all day.
Good. But another thing we were talking about before was the connections in Boston. I just looking at your liner notes, like who's been on your album.
Yeah.
You've been on her albums.
Sure.
I didn't even know that until I went and looked at her albums. And I knew you guys were friends, obviously, because of Sub Rosa.
Yeah.
It's amazing the community that's here.
It is. It's really cool, and it's it's like a mat. It's like one of those weeds that makes roots that make like a mat all over the ground. It's just everybody's connected to everybody else through all these little micro connections. Yeah, it's cool.
And even like you have Billy Conway on your, who's a drummer, used to be the drummer from Morphine. So we've interviewed Jerome.
And treat her right. Yep.
And you also recorded at High and Dry.
Yeah.
And
I made 2 albums at High and Dry.
Yeah.
And I'm about to pick Billy up from the airport.
Oh, really?
And take him to my house.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Jerome talked a lot about High and Dry, and it's no longer around, is it?
No, I don't even know what's in that space anymore. That's
a bummer.
It's really sad. It was a special. Did you go up? Yeah, you recorded up there too.
I did.
It was the top floor of a loft building in Cambridge, and it had been Mark Sandman's apartment and also kind of like clubhouse for Morphine, and where they had their little band studio and they would rehearse and stuff. So after Mark died, the remaining bandmates, Billy and Dana, started doing projects up there, a little bit of other people. So the first record I made with Billy was one of the first other records, like non-Morphine records that they made up there. And then after that, for I don't know how long it lasted, not 10 years, maybe like 7, 8 years, something like that. There were so many records and musical experiences that came out of that room. It was really magic.
I thought I read somewhere there's no sound room or anything like that in it. It was like a big, you just got played in a circle.
Open room.
A big brick room with windows on 3 sides that, would often be open. There would be sort of like dogs and cars and whatever, like all the outside sounds, and everyone was just in one room. There was no separation at all between the board and the players or any of the players and each other. It was just a big space.
There was like some bedroom off the back that you could close.
Yeah, eventually they started using that as a booth.
Yeah, but for the most part, it seems like it inspired this group vibe. And I remember working with Billy at High and Dry. He was using that word. Speaking of words you use all the time, miasma. That word, like he's like, you got to come out of the miasma. And I hear it on The Wild. I'm like, oh, I hear the miasma.
Yeah, there's
like
some
there
miasma
it is.
there,
Like
for sure.
It's a good word. I haven't used that word yet. I'm going to
there
start
you go.
using
Here's
it.
a new one.
That could be. You could switch to that one for a while.
I don't know how to.
Phenomenal miasma.
That place taught me that you could all be in the same room and all be feeling the same organic vibe and get a recording out of it that was just what you needed it to be, and that was very different from all my other experiences.
Right, because there was such a lack of a relinquishing of control over details, and it's all about the feel. I mean, certainly for Billy, that's like a guiding principle. It's like if the feel is there and everyone's feeling it and sort of in that feeling together, then that's everything else is sort of doesn't matter.
Well, time fan don't fly, it only crawls in circles on the kitchen wall. And a song just ain't no use at all if there's no one who can play it. Well, things are different since you came. My wings don't work in this heavy rain. Now everybody knows my name, but no one's gonna say it. And you leave me hollow, leave me hollow. You leave me hollow, leave me.
Jerome said that there was the gear there was just like there's just a ton of gear.
It was like a playground, but it wasn't like a shiny fancy gear.
Yeah,
it
old
was
analog
like
stuff?
And a lot of crazy instruments, all of Sandman's crazy instruments, and it was kind of like a pound, weird
dog
little
pound?
instrument. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Like just a lot of kooky, weird, awesome instruments in there.
Yeah.
I recorded at Woolly Mammoth. You guys ever been to Woolly
Sure,
Mammoth?
yeah. The old Willie?
No.
Is it in Waltham?
In Waltham.
Okay, that's the
a
new
new
Willie.
one.
Yep.
So Dave Minahan, he did my album, and
I love Dave.
But Dave's great, and he's up for a Producer of the Year award for Boston Music Awards.
Right on.
Yeah, I think he's actually won before. So
bet he has.
it's old.
Do you know
old
what it was
hat.
for? What record it was for?
I don't.
Something
I don't know
like
if it was
that?
for a specific record per se, whether it was or
Yeah.
it was just generally. But they have Mark Sandman's piano there in the
wow.
studio. Yeah. That was
I remember
pretty
the story Billy told of him buying that piano when he was piano shopping. He would go into the room where the pianos were, and he would walk up to each one and just play the lowest note, bong, and that was it.
That's all
Like
he
that
needs
was
to
him
see
trying
through
out
the
the piano.
Was
And
that
that's-
that was the piano
funny.
at High and Drums?
Uh-huh.
Because that's something that never occurred to me. I knew it was his space, but I didn't know that was his piano.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's at Woolley. That's nice to know.
Yeah.
When they lost the space, it was the victim of the rent thing in
Gentrification.
Cambridge, and so they held out for as long as they could, and then eventually, when it was clear that they were going to have to move out, then they sort of farmed out all the gear to various studios, and
Interesting to see where all that gear went. So now we know where the piano went.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That makes me happy to know.
Some of the gear still is around at High. It's High and Dry, but I like to joke that it's really low and wet. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's in the basement.
Exactly.
Of the
The
armory.
armory.
The rest of the gear, and they call it High and Dry still.
Yep.
That studio is in Somerville.
Yeah, and I think quite a bit of that stuff is still there.
Yeah.
But
Is it-
certainly, it's a totally different feeling place.
What is
It's
it now?
nice.
It's a recording studio.
Oh, it's still a recording
It
studio.
is, yeah, in the basement of the armory, the Somerville Armory.
Oh, I thought it was turned into a laundromat or something.
It's a totally different space now. Like that's the Cambridge loft
Oh, okay.
is
Yeah,
probably
that's
a
what I meant.
gajillion-dollar apartment
Oh,
or
that's-
some corporate headquarters of some.
And little do
who
they
knows?
know what happened in that room.
It's probably like guys in man buns at standing desks up there.
Guys in man buns at standing desks. That's an image for you.
Or something.
There's a lot I want to talk about, and I don't know if you have any agenda. I told you not to have any agenda.
I have
though.
secret agendas.
Secret
That's
agendas?
the
Yeah.
best kind.
So you can interrupt me anytime.
All right.
But I've been listening to The Wild, and it's so great.
Thank you.
And one of the first things I thought about, we can talk about a lot of things about it, but because you did it with your husband, right? Your husband
yeah.
produced it, and he played on it as well.
Yep, yeah, we kind of made it together.
Okay, so I want to know the dynamic in your Western Massachusetts house, right? You're both musicians.
Yeah.
Do you both go to your like separate studios and
sure
go, I'm
do.
going to go work, honey. I'm going, and then you go and you're over there? Or
Yeah,
do you fight over-
we don't. Neither of us really has a studio, but we have our little lairs, and I'm upstairs and he's downstairs. We work really separately, and we have very opposite ways of going about most things. Considering that we do the same thing, which is like pick up a guitar and write a song, there's almost nothing else similar about the way we do
Wow.
it. It's really fascinating always to me just to see how I'll never exactly get how he does it. It's totally foreign to
And
me.
your husband is Jeffrey
Foucault, yeah.
Yes.
And
And he's fantastic too.
he is fantastic. I agree. So he's a morning person, so he'll get up and just start working away.
Okay, so that helps.
And I'm a night person. But there is still, because we have a kid, you kind of have to train yourself. I mean, that's nice you're a night person, but you basically need to work when your kid's at school. We'll both be in there, and our offices are actually mine's right above his, so I can sort of hear him doing stuff, which is usually kind of inspiring, because I can't actually hear exactly what he's doing. I can just hear that he's working on something, and that makes me want to also do something.
Competition.
Yeah.
It's so good.
But yeah, we usually
Is it competitive?
I mean,
No, it's just like when you go to the cafe and like everyone else is working
It's
and
inspiring.
you're like, I gotta work.
Yeah.
Everybody's working. I'm gonna work.
it's like motivating. You're like,
Yeah.
because maybe you're sitting there sort of screwing around and doing email or something, but then you hear him working on a song and you're like, well, damn it, I'm going to write a song too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do stupid email. It usually is these separate little realms. And then we both tend to be very private about what we write for a long time until it sort of gets to that point where we're ready to share. And then we edit a lot on each other's stuff, and we'll bring each other a song. And he in particular tends to write tons of lyrics, less now than he used to, but he used to just write these epic songs. And so I would just like cross out big verses and stuff. It was fun.
Wow.
Because I don't write a whole lot of extra words. So it felt like so luxurious to just be able to hack away
Yeah.
the underbrush of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have talked for a while about doing one together. I think it took us a while to even get to the point where that concept was at all appealing. Yeah. I know for myself, and I think probably for him too, when we first were together, it was super important that we both have like our sovereign land of music and that it was ours. And especially combining the rest of our lives as much as we were, like just to have that space where the other person almost like didn't go was really important. And it still is. I mean, it's not like now we do everything together or anything like that, but I think it was important to keep those boundaries, musical boundaries, super strong in the beginning. Because when we met, we've been married for 13 years. We were both a lot earlier on in our careers when we first got together, and so it was like everyone was just a little more like wound up about everything, and now it doesn't matter. I think we've each established our identity as artists enough that we don't have to stress about that. And we've sort of like gotten our deal together as the two of us enough that we felt like we could take this sort of risk.
But didn't you meet him before? Weren't you playing together? Was he with Redbird?
Well, Redbird formed. I met him on a tour with Peter Mulvey, a triple bill tour in England. So we met basically on the plane on the way over for this few-week tour in England. Okay. And I remember thinking like, I hope I can stand this person. No, like before we actually went, I was like, I just hope that he's not a giant drag because we're going to be in a car for 3 weeks and I've never met him. Sure. And yeah, then we hit it off. And so from that came the Redbird thing. Because when we were on that tour, we were playing the shows, and the shows would be basically separate sets. I think we were playing a couple songs all together, but each of us was playing solo. But then in the hotels in the afternoons, we would just get together and play whatever, just play songs for hours and hours and hours. And then we started feeling like that was cooler than the show. So Redbird was trying to be that, was trying to like take that thing and kind of share it with people. It's super fun. We haven't done it in a while now. Anyway, so like a few records ago, he was like, maybe you should produce this record for me or with me, or we should one of his. But we still had a little kid. It just didn't seem feasible to do it. So it's been kind of like the idea has come up a few different times, and then this just seemed like the moment to try it.
You're the primary singer in all of them, right?
Yeah, I wrote the songs. We didn't write the songs together,
okay. So
and it's my record, but we just teamed up to make it, to record it. We have really different skills. He's good at curating a consistent vibe, which is something I always really struggle with because my records always want to kind of explode to every mood in the world over the course of that record, and that's cool. I like that kind of record, but I really like a record that you put on and it kind of takes you somewhere and leaves you more or less in that neighborhood for a while and lets you kind of stay there. That's something that's super hard for me to do on my own. I mean, there's a lot of things like this, but this is one example of something that he is super skilled at, and just sort of, it comes kind of naturally to him, I think. Just his whole pattern of existence is kind of more like linear.
I think that really comes through on the record. I feel like it's in this really dark, beautiful vibe through the whole thing. And it's interesting to hear you say that because after listening to it for a while, certain songs kind of popped out where I thought they were similar to each other on the first listen. I think the vibe was so consistent that like after 2 or 3 listens, a song would like pop out. And I would hear all this other stuff in it that I feel like the first time through was in the forest of the record.
Yeah, in the mix.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I think I like that.
Don't let me fall asleep. I know how it gets dark and deep. Promise you'll keep a light on in the hall. You know me, my limit and my life, grief and my greed. I know you know sometimes I need it all. Just go away. So I ask you over and over again, over and over again. Please don't let me fall asleep. I know promise is hard to keep. The loneliest lead.
We started with more songs. Like there's 12 songs on the record, but we cut 18 songs in the studio.
Oh, wow.
And
So we have the EP out.
yeah, so I didn't think I would, but then I ended up putting 5 of the 6 that we cut on an EP. I didn't even really realize until I got them all together, but they're kind of like the quietest ones and the loudest ones. It's nice. I mean, it's nice to actually set out to do something and then feel like you sort of did it. You know?
Yeah.
It doesn't always work out that way.
Why is it called The Wild? Because you said it's kind of like a forest. Well, so it kind of fits with the name of that. Was that, or just
did
a
the
coincidence?
name, did the category of the whole thing
Of the
come
forest
after?
come out?
Or were you thinking like, I want to...
You mean like the vibe?
Yeah, did song selection ever get down in your head? What works with this vibe of the wild or this like dark?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I can't remember if I had the title. I always pick the title last, so probably not. But I mean, I think I had a lot more songs than I usually have to choose from this record. So we started out with maybe 25 or 30, and then we cut them down to that 18, and then we cut them down to the 12. And each time we were doing that, it was choosing a center of gravity and picking the songs that gathered into that one the most. So it's interesting and kind of as it's happening for me, super stressful because it's like we could have made such so many different records with those songs. Like if we had chosen a different center of gravity, it would have completely been a different project. And so that's really cool. But while it's happening, it just totally does my head in. You know? Yeah. I think I selected the songs based on like knowing what the band was going to be, trying to pick the ones that were most in their wheelhouse. Yeah, we sort of like established a couple thematic hearths, and then the ones that got closest to that were what we picked.
And some of the thematic hearths were...
Well, I mean, one of them is like, so The Wild, the title, I think refers to the sort of distance and tension between our grown-up sort of civilized selves and our wild animal self, which is in there. And I feel like, the further you go into life, for most people, there's sort of these layers of responsibility and civilization that just pile up and pile up. And so the tension gets more palpable between those two things. And so the song The Wild is definitely overtly about that. And then I think there's other tendrils of that idea that go through the songs too.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear you talk about that, because from my experience of your music in the past and like all the songs you've written so far before this record, like I feel like you're in life, like you're living out, you have chickens, like you're living out in Western Mass, you have like a songwriter husband and this beautiful daughter running in the fields, and like I just like you're like living life. And then I'm listening to this record, I'm like, it sounds like she's trying to convince herself to like go out there again or something, and I'm like, that can't be Kris. Is that happening to Kris? Like, 'cause she's in it, But I totally feel that as a theme, and I'm just like, it's all over, and it really feels like a concept record because it's a strong point of view. Like I feel that it came through for sure, cool. And not just in that song, but in lots of the other ones. Yeah, and the other, I think what you just mentioned is probably the other, maybe even the biggest theme to me. I think of it as like a tide of like losing inspiration and then having to wait for it or find it or go hunt it down or whatever. It goes away and it comes back, it goes away and it comes back. And it's sort of across the board. I think a lot of these songs are about it in terms of music and writing and kind of losing your way, but also in terms of like... the relationship.
Your relationship totally, and
totally,
your
like rules
existence
to the game
in the world. Yeah, that's
totally
a very
like all
marital
this
song.
Discord and like, I'm married too. So like arguments, the same arguments and happen over and over, and you're like, we didn't sign up for this.
Everybody
like,
knows
and
that
just
scene.
the same as like your life, your domestic life and adult life can just take over, and you're trying to...
It can put you on these places where you're caring about things that you don't care about, and it's such a strange... Or you're not sure, or you're like, do I actually care about this? Or at what point did I start caring about this? That kind of stuff. It's like a grown-up record. Yeah. It's about being a grown-up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a fall record to me.
Oh, yeah.
An autumn
winter.
record.
Oh, like autumn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And it's funny because what's the one about being sick of November?
Oh, yeah, Rules to Games, that same
Okay,
song.
so it's interesting that you say November, because the fall for me, it's like it's always a very optimistic time for me.
It's like the beginning of the year for all of us. It's like in our hearts, November is the beginning of the year
Right.
because it's when school starts. So it's like if you're sick of November, like you're done for
It's
the
too
year.
soon.
That's bad.
It's too soon to be
Yeah.
sick of it.
So you include, which I love, you include the lyrics on your website.
Yeah.
Which I mean, maybe I just don't look at the CD covers anymore, but I love being able to actually read the lyrics there.
I
And
do
not have
too.
not have to Google them. Someone gives them to you.
I really like it too. I have a daughter who's 9, and last year for her birthday, she's super into music, and we wanted to give her a way of playing music for herself, like her own thing. And it was a real crisis of everything for us as two musician parents in this moment in time. Like, what do we give her? Because like giving her an iPod felt just like admitting defeat and terrible. And then, but giving her a CD player felt like giving her, it's like, here's your Victrola. But that's what we did. We got her a little boombox.
You should have got her a turntable. And then you'd really
Well,
go
I know, but
backwards.
then she's still pretty little.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that could have been a disaster.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got her a little tiny boombox and we got her some CDs, and it's awesome because she sits there. I mean, she still wants to hear songs on my phone also, of course, because you can't keep up with everything she wants to hear.
Yeah.
But the records that she really loves, like she loves our friend Anais Mitchell's Hadestown record, and she'll sit there with the liner notes from the CD, and she just sits on her bed and listens to the record and reads along with the lyrics,
Yeah.
which is exactly what we all did. And
Yeah.
it just makes me happy to see her do that, because it's she's not doing anything else, and
Yeah.
it's like she's taking it in through all her senses, and she's just doing it, like sucking this music into her brain. It's so cool.
Especially nowadays, it's easy to just put it on and forget, right?
Well, yeah, and you don't even know. I mean, I'm definitely very old school. I'll listen for research purposes to files, but they all feel like files to me. They're so unsexy.
Yeah.
And you see in like a list of files in like iTunes font just doesn't do anything for me. And it can be a song, it can be like a song from Africa in the 50s and like a Taylor Swift song, and it looks, there's no palpable difference, that drives me crazy.
Did I talk to you about Kip and Margaret, my kids, listening to Pandora on the TV?
No.
We have the Amazon Fire or whatever, and
Yeah.
you can get the app Pandora on it, and they'd put kids radio on, and I was frustrated at first because they would stand right close to the TV and stare at the little album icon moving around the screen. Moving around the screen for like a long time, and I was like, I feel like it's screen time. I'm frustrated by this.
Yeah.
And my good friend Heather was like, this is what we did. Like, this is what kids have. They have to look at the picture on the screen
I
because
know.
they don't have the physical thing. She's like, it's just like when you were little, looking at the thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
but
true.
at least they're interested.
Yeah,
you know?
and like attaching that image, you know how it
The
is. like
artwork and-
the cover of a record is, it's attached to that
Yeah.
music in your head, and so that's cool.
Well, you might think I'm crazy to hang around with you, or maybe you think I'm lucky to have something to do. But I think that you're wild, and inside me there's some child. Well, you might think it's foolish, maybe it's untrue. You might think I'm crazy, but all I want is you.
I wanted us to talk about the Cars album,
Oh yeah.
okay?
That was
Because
so much fun.
you were on that too?
Yeah, that was on
Yeah,
that
Rose
one.
was a big part of that.
So I'm a huge fan of the Cars.
Yeah.
But different albums.
The earlier
okay?
ones, the cooler ones.
So I got into them with the Cars, the self-titled one,
Yep.
and Candio.
Yep.
And the first one is my favorite.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's kind of the best one.
yeah, and they're up for the
Hall of
Rock
Fame?
and Roll Hall of Fame
Yeah, yeah.
again.
Wow.
And everyone's like arguing, oh, Duran, they should be getting on. I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
I'm like, what about the freaking Cars? How can the Cars not be on?
They're gonna get in there eventually.
Why is that even a question?
I know. They should do it while they're all still around, though.
They must have had the same kind of effect on you to do a Cars cover album like that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the first record, I knew a bunch of their songs from those records. But the first record that I had and loved was Heartbeat City, which is for like I was 13 when that came out, and I was just the exact right age for it. And so now in hindsight, I see that the other ones are really cool, and I see why Heartbeat City was kind of like their sellout record. It was Mutt Lange, everyone was like, eh.
Plus there was MTV. That was
yep, the whole, exactly. That was where I pretty much started.
Yeah.
And
that's where you were, so
it blew my mind, and I still think it's an amazing record. And some of the sounds are so particular to 1984 that it sounds so almost like a caricature of itself sometimes because it's just so synthy and all that stuff. I wanted to do that record for years. I talked about doing a Cars covers record like for probably, I don't even know how long, years and years and years. And my friends would sort of make fun of me and just whatever, roll their eyes. And I didn't think I was ever going to do it, and neither did they. But then I just had to do it because the way that like the construction of those songs is so unbelievable. It was really like wanting the impulse to like take the car apart to see how it works. They're just like put together with all these perfect little hooks. Like when you unpack one of those songs, there's so many amazing, perfect hooks that somehow fit together so seamlessly that you don't even really, until you really pay attention, you don't even know they're all in there. And
right. But their hooks, every instrument has its own hook.
Exactly.
I mean, the fascinating thing, I was listening, Greg Hawkes, right?
Yeah.
He lives in Lincoln, Massachusetts,
yeah, he's my
right?
neighbor.
And so I've seen him a bunch of times. Like he shows up at open mics that I've been at, and he
Sure.
plays his mandolin, and I've never
Ukulele.
Ukulele, yeah.
You know he played on the record, right? Did you
Yes, I know,
okay.
I know.
Just checking.
But his keyboard playing was like another vocal almost. And also, I can't remember the name of the lead guitarist.
Elliot Easton.
Yeah.
He's incredible.
Those little quick solos are so integral to the song.
Yeah.
Every piece, every instrument that's in those songs.
It's like indispensable. Every
Yeah.
little piece is indispensable.
So well
so
written.
cool. I know. Yeah, so it was really fun. And so the record was, I think there were 15 of us maybe at Q Division in Somerville playing those live. But in order to prep for it, I basically did take all the songs apart and figure out what instrument was doing what and kind of assign those parts to different instruments, like acoustic instruments.
Right.
So it was just like as a study of the songs, it was super cool for me. It was really fun. And it was
That's
just
amazing.
for totally like the joy of doing it. It was not a career move.
It was so fun. It was so fun.
It was a blast, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was so funny.
And I remember
God, I
Zach.
laughed
Do you
so
remember
hard.
Zach being like, "Thank you, Kris, for not just playing like the C chord over 5 C chord changes." He's like, he was so excited about the work you did
About
to get
the
ready
level
for
of
it.
geeking out that I
yes,
did.
yeah.
It was a very geekorama project.
I
Yeah,
wanted
it was
to
fun.
do the same thing for like early REM.
Oh yeah.
For like Reckoning or Murmur or Life Switch Pageant.
I love those records. I think I did Perfect Circle for a little while. Maybe in a band I was in or something. I don't know. I have a dim memory of playing that song from Murmur.
I think I choreographed a dance from my middle school to Swan Swan Hummingbird.
Did you really?
Pretty sure I
That's
choreographed
perfect.
something.
Maybe you should choreograph us more dances, Rose.
Oh, I should.
Some interpretive dance.
Are you really up for
We have a
it?
distinct lack of choreography in
Yeah.
our life.
Yeah,
I do.
we could really do some.
I've
Oh,
been
that's a good one.
I've been writing some crazy stuff recently, and some of it I've almost thought maybe had little like moves.
Yeah.
well, you've done some videos. I saw the one where you were on the canoe.
Yeah, that was my move, and canoeing around a lake.
What if you could do some
canoe choreography?
Lucky Star, Madonna type dancing down the street while you sing.
I mean,
one of
they
your
wouldn't
songs?
see it coming.
You don't have to be I don't have to be a good dancer in order
No.
to look interesting in a video.
No,
That's
Matter of
true.
fact, you
Doing
look more
dance.
interesting if you're a bad dancer.
Right.
So,
That's totally really
I mean,
cool.
being a good
But
dancer is
you
not
have
going to
to-
happen.
You
I
have
don't
to
think
have
in my
somebody.
lifetime.
I tried to choreograph a dance video for one time, and it was really fun. But it was
For your
For one of your
song?
songs? What song?
yeah, it's out on YouTube actually.
It is?
But it's just it was from my
can't wait to get home.
30th birthday party, and it was to the song Cornfield, which never came out, but.
but you can get it on YouTube.
Yeah,
So
Aoife O'Donovan is in Kristen Andreasen and
Really?
Ellen Roth, and like all these people are in my bedroom at my party, just doing these big movements with their arms
Oh,
and
sweet.
swaying this way and that way.
I'm
And
That's
going to
awesome.
check that out for
Dave
sure.
Godowski.
Oh, we'll definitely
Janae
check that
Halstead.
out.
Dave Godowski
Yeah.
dancing?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, it's good. But it's horrible video quality because we were just like messing
Screwing around.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's okay. That's what makes it good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine.
If it's too good looking, then you just.
It's intimidating for
Yeah,
everyone.
Yeah.
exactly. I don't mean to keep on going back to the Sub Rosa thing, but I did read something. You're a big Wilco fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean-
I saw them. What was it? A couple years ago at the Orpheum.
Cool.
And it's not a huge space at all, but
It's
I
a great
felt
room.
like I was sitting in their living room watching them play, which is kind of like what I felt like when I saw you guys playing Sub Rosa. Because everyone's kind of spread out, because you're surrounded, because of the way the Lizard Lounge is situated.
It's a cool room that way.
Everyone's kind of mingled in. You can't even tell the musicians from the
Exactly.
from the people sitting down sometimes.
Yeah.
And also, it also reminded me, because you had gone to High and Dry, how you had kind of gathered around. And he does a lot of that if you've ever watched his documentaries and
Sure,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah. We made the Cars record that way too, all in a big circle in the room.
I can't tell. Can you tell when someone
No, I mean,
with the
it's,
bleed and everything? Can you tell that? I can't tell.
I mean, I like the bleed. The bleed is great. The only thing that it does for you, especially, we had a few headaches with that
just can't
record.
edit,
You
right?
can't edit, and the hardest part for me always with being in the room with drums is that I'm not a loud singer, and so the drums get into my vocals, and then that can just cause a lot of trouble with mixing. And with the Cars, we definitely had an extra big headache about that. And with the Wild, the new one, I started in the room with everybody. Jeff and those guys had made a record with a songwriter named John Stotts in the same studio, and everyone had been in the room. And so Jeff was like, "Oh, it's good. We figured it out, like where you would sit so that it's gonna be fine." But then once we were there, we realized that Stotts sings like 50 times louder than I do.
Right.
And so we tried baffling me and putting little barricades in front of me and all that stuff. But eventually, I ended up in the booth, so I wasn't technically in the miasma, but I still
Feeling
felt
it.
like
Feeling it.
I was
Yeah.
feeling it.
How much emphasis do you put on trying to get perfection on your albums?
Very little.
Very little.
Yeah. For the most part, I'm singing live with the band anyway, so whatever happened is what happened. In this instance, I was in a booth, so technically I could have sung everything all over again, but I was playing guitar at the same time, so I would have had to also recut guitar. I don't really mind singing over again, but guitar, it's really hard to make it feel right for me. I think there's one song on there maybe that I redid because we loved the band take and there was some really truly fatal flaw in what I was doing. But it's like what we were saying before, like if the feel is there, I don't know. I've always been okay with just letting the details, even if it's in the vocal, just letting them go. And it's hard in the moment to do that because you get fixated on, like, everything's under the microscope, especially when you first hear vocal back. Whatever little issues there are can sound really like, ugh, it's like super cringy. My process usually is when I'm mixing or like working on overdubs or whatever, I'll have the notes to the song and I always have highlighted like 10 different things in my vocal that I want to fix. And then by the time we've actually mixed it and gotten to that point, I'm always like, eh.
Yeah,
Because you get used to it. And then when you think about records that you love, they got all kinds of weird little glitches, and you accept it as part of, either you don't even notice as the listener, or you love it as like as like whatever, it's like what makes your friend's face their face.
Well, it's a moment.
Like personality.
It's a moment that you remember it happening.
Yeah, and it's a person in a room doing a thing. It's like really, it's that moment that happens. So, I mean, if it's a train wreck, of course you don't want to like put that out. But I believe in letting it, as much as possible, have whatever moment it comes from. Just let it and keep that.
Amen. I'm into that.
You're the same way?
Oh, I'm the same way, and that's how I did my last two records, and there are definitely flaws, but the other part of it is like, I'm also nostalgic in that, like, the feeling is there because the feeling was there between people, and those people are my friends. So the quality of my voice is carrying like an emotion in the room that was when my friends were with me. And
exactly.
And I'm not telling myself any lies about how many records I'm going to sell. So like that record better be meaningful to me because I'm going to be the one listening to it in 40 years. So it's a beautiful
you want
thing
it to feel
do.
like something. Yeah.
But you have to have these beautiful musicians who
we did this record. We had 3 days to make it, but we spent most of the first day working on setup because, like I said, I was started in the room, and then we cut a song, we didn't like it, we had to redo the whole. So the first day we only cut one. So then we did 17 songs in the next 2 days.
Wow.
And so there was not a lot of time to like really dwell on anything.
You recorded 17 songs in 2 days?
Mm-hmm. And then we did some overdubs and stuff. Like Jeff and I did overdubs at home, and I did some keyboard stuff at another studio, the little piano bits and stuff.
That's a
the band and the vocals.
Everyone was
it was a lot.
Pre-rehearsed and they knew what was going in.
Yeah.
But I guess again, you have these awesome musicians there who can
They're
just pick
amazing,
it up like
and
that.
you can
They
throw
know
them
each other.
anything, and they are there. They're like, I always think of them as like the little, in cartoons or whatever, like the little firemen with the trampoline, like running around the
That's good.
the bottom, like under the window of the burning building, and then like wherever you jump out, they.
But you're a
do it well.
super responsive like singer as well, and so like to be in a band with Kris or to be on stage with you. When I got to sing backups for you here with Jennifer not too long ago, we would be like singing something and then you would respond to it. So it felt like it made it work because it was all like moving together.
Fun.
So there's plenty of amazing singers too out there who can't necessarily feel what they won't adjust what their vision is of the song. They won't like surrender it to what the band is feeling in the moment. And I feel like you're very open. You have your opinions and where you want to go, but I feel like you're very open to like where the band is going and that.
I love that, and I love getting surprised by the people playing with me, taking things in somewhere I didn't know it was going to go.
I noticed, and this is something that people would say to me when I'm singing. I'll close my eyes when I sing.
Yeah.
Are you a open eye singer or a closed eye singer?
I mostly close them. I mean, if I'm singing with other people, then I'll be with them or, with the players that I'm playing with. But as a general rule, I tend to close them more often than not.
Okay. I'm just curious because people will be like, will you open your eyes when you sing? I'm like, what?
I know, and I used to.
It's a focus thing for me. I don't know.
I know.
Sometimes I feel
it could
like
be a shyness thing. I don't know.
When my eyes are open, I feel like I'm confronting people with my feelings, and I don't feel that great about that.
Yeah, and it's I also get distracted by seeing the audience can be, like people have different listening faces.
Oh, yeah. Or resting faces.
Yeah. I get distracted, but it's also, sometimes, I don't know, it just feels like the natural thing to do. And I definitely had all kinds of people advise me to try to keep my eyes open when I was younger and starting out. And so I would sort of dutifully try to do it, and now I'm like, that's what I do. But when you're singing with people, I think it's cool also to connect with them.
Yeah.
I noticed it, I was just thinking about it on the way in here. There's a songwriting retreat that Rose and I both go to every June on an island, and I was thinking about a song that I was working on this year that I played with you guys, and it had those kind of interleaved vocal parts that were sort of complicated. Do you remember that one? We learned it at the piano, and I played it on the whirly. It's like, I'm gonna let on the light.
Yes.
And then you guys would sing that thing.
Yeah.
So, and I remember that it's a retreat where everyone works in solitude all day long and then gets together at the end of the day and shares what we're working on. And it's with a group of musicians that we all know each other and trust each other, and everyone's very nimble and good at just jumping on things. Well, it's a lot of the Sub Rosa, it's a lot of that same crew. So you bring a song that you're working on and you start singing it, and everyone just kind of pipes up and sings it with you, even though it's the first time they're hearing it. So it's cool, it's amazing. And so we were doing that with one of my songs, but we took a 5-minute break for everyone to get a drink or whatever. And I remember we practiced it, and I was like super looking at you guys, and it felt really amazing. And then when we played it, for real, quote unquote, with everyone actually paying attention, I kind of like closed my eyes, and it really made a difference in what it felt like. Like it didn't, the same energy was not flowing in the same way that it was.
Right.
And I've thought about that moment a lot since then, about how looking at the people you're singing with kind of facilitates the whatever that mojo is that's going around.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just agree with that. I just don't agree with that. I know Rose Cousins was the one who pointed it out to me that it was important, and I would do it with her. I don't know how many musicians I looked in their eyes with or whatever, but then then it was a thing for me, and I would always seek their eyes out when I'm on stage with them, because there's something, I don't know if it's just that I can peripherally see their mouth or something, but looking in their eyes, I know when they're going to start singing, or I know if they're going to get louder. Yeah, there's two people, and then there's the energy between them, and
Exactly.
it's I think it's a real thing. It's a spiritual thing that's in between people. And,
I do too.
But they have to connect. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Playing in general, but singing in particular feels like a very spiritual connection to have with somebody.
Music is such a gift to people. I just want to encourage all the little people that I know all the time to learn instruments.
Yeah.
I have a songwriter friend who wrote a beautiful song about it. She was a songwriter, and maybe she was, she ended up chatting with, her name is Sharon Lewis, and she's actually related to Mark Sandman. She's his cousin.
Oh.
Yeah,
I didn't
a
know
distant.
that.
Yeah,
I know
it was
Sharon,
a
I've
very
met her.
strange coincidence.
Huh.
But she wrote the song where she was walking down the street. This really happened, and she's talking to this homeless guy on the street, and she ends up telling him that she's a musician, and he says, and she puts this lyric right in the song, right out of his mouth, he told me music was a gift, and I would never be truly lonely with it, never. Huh. And I was like, oh, that is so true. That feeling that you get of connection is so profound, and it's a gift to have. Yeah, I'm very grateful for it.
I am too. That's what our job
so
is.
cool.
It's a cool job.
It's a cool job. I'm jealous of you guys being able to do
But
this
you
all
do
the
it,
time.
and you have it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
That's
but
what really.
I want to do it. I need to do it more. I'm
Yeah.
not doing it enough.
You need a porch and some neighbors. Like, I need a porch.
Yeah, I need a porch too. I have a deck. It's not the same.
I don't know. We have to. I need a ruling on this one. I think you have
No,
a deck,
I have
but you need
strong
a
feelings
porch.
about it. I like it a lot, but it doesn't have. There's no top. It really makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Like a roof.
So you want a roof. You don't want a porch.
I want a porch with a roof. Because a porch without a roof
Is a deck.
Is a deck.
There's a deck.
I'm glad we worked that out. I'm so glad we worked that out. That would have plagued me for a week or so.
Oh, wow.
All right, so the album's out and
Yep.
it's excellent, and I know you're starting on a big tour right now, right?
Yeah, we're starting on Friday. We're starting at Stone Mountain in Maine. Have you done?
No, I've
I know
not
of it.
been
I haven't
there.
been there, but I know it.
But I hear they
It's really
sometimes
great.
provide cake.
They always provide cake.
You ride cake?
That's what I hear.
Yeah, my daughter was like, I don't care about anything else, but I'm going to that one. She's an expert in the green room providings of each gig. Yeah, we're doing some Northeastern stuff, and then we're all going to the West Coast, and then we're all going to the Midwest.
It's the whole band.
It's the whole
And the
band
family.
plus our daughter and like wrangler for her.
So cool.
It's fun. It's big. It's
How old's your daughter again? I'm
She's
sorry?
9.
She's 9.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
It's really cool. It's definitely
It's a great
it's a
experience.
production. Once it starts, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm still doing the logistics of it, and it's just.
Are you having to
a
get
lot.
stuff from the school so she can keep up? Or
Yeah, I
is
mean, we
it-
haven't even really gotten there. She's going to miss about 3 weeks total. It's not
Yeah.
that big a deal.
It's
You know,
fine.
it's
Oh,
fourth
yeah.
grade, and
Oh,
they're
it's
pretty
worth it.
cool about it. Her school's pretty great,
Great.
as long as we don't hit a number where the state gets
She'll-
upset about
she'll
it.
never forget it.
Oh no. She's gonna learn a lot of things.
So
Yeah.
you got a bus? What do you got?
We rent a van. You know, we fly and then rent a van. The band lives. I mean, we live in Mass. The bass player lives in Providence. Billy, the drummer, lives in Montana, and the pedal steel player lives in Raleigh. So we sort of converge on wherever we're starting, and then we get a van. And because there's so many of us, hotels are pretty prohibitive. So we get Airbnb houses usually.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's kind of fun, especially with the kid. It's like a fun adventure because we get to get pretty big houses because there's a lot of us. So sometimes there's features.
All right, so Kim
Chris.
I'm sorry, KrisDelmhorst.com. I'll edit
You
that
wouldn't
out.
believe.
I'll edit that
There's-
out.
No, it's okay. But like, I don't know what it is with Kim. Like, I think I have been Kim. Maybe I'm frequently called Kim
Really?
and never anything else as the wrong name. But
So
Kim,
funny.
I don't even know how many times. I remember the last time I had a record out. I was telling the band in the van about it, and because it had just happened the day before. Where it had come up, and so I was telling them about it, and they were all laughing. And then we got to the club in Philly, and Mark Spencer was playing with me, and he had this get-up, which was like these sort of white shoes and this seersucker blazer, and he looked like kind of like he belonged on a yacht somewhere. And the bartender came up to him and said, "Are you Kim's manager?" Anyway, it's not just you.
Okay,
It's
so I
okay. You're
feel
tapping
better.
into something
I'm
that's
sorry.
real.
Maybe there's like another artist who has the same similar name. I don't know. But it's KrisDelmhorst.com.
Uh-huh.
And you can see your tour there and purchase your albums.
Yep.
You come out in vinyl?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah, and it's really, I changed the sequence a little bit for the vinyl, and it's way better.
Really?
I only
That's
switched 2
wild.
songs, but I think it's just, that's the right
Well,
sequence.
you know, we just talked to a guy at Burlington Record Plant.
That's where I got them made.
Oh, we talked to Justin Crowther.
Yeah, he's great.
And he told us a really interesting story about because of the physics of the album, you want to put the louder songs on the outside because as you move in, it's turning faster and it won't be as sonically out there. So you want to put the heavier, rockier
Yep, you start with the
songs.
loud stuff and the
Is that
quiet
interesting?
ones.
That's really interesting.
Is that why you changed it around?
No, I just liked, it just felt right to switch them since there was that break and since it was like, you know, when you flip a record, then it's kind of like a new beginning.
Right.
And so I just wanted a different song starting the side. But then now, in hindsight, I really love it that
That's
way. so.
awesome.
I can't believe you did it there.
Love
See,
that
2
idea.
degrees. 2
Yeah,
degrees.
2 degrees.
I'm telling you.
That's really cool.
Well, you can play some songs?
Oh,
Is
yeah,
that great?
I forgot
Is
all
that
about
cool?
it. Sure.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And thank you, Rose. What are you going to sing for us?
I'm going to sing I Don't Need to Know It All. Do you have any mics over there? I took all your mics. Warbling every song that it's ever heard.
Song that it's ever heard. All right.
Something will happen.
Yeah.
Honey, it would mean the world to me
could sit right here and watch your willow tree learn to grow straight up out of the ground, learn to trail my branches all around. I don't need to know it all. I don't need to know it all. Oh, my friend, how lovely it would be if he should come along and sit right next to me. All my molecules go to one side, and for a moment I could call that satisfied. I don't need to know it all. I don't need to know it all. And my heart, when it flies, flies like a desperate bird, all alone in the night, warbling every song that it's ever heard. Oh, my love, now it would be so fine if I could see out through your eyes and you through mine. All my earthly burdens fall away. How could I ever leave? How could I ever stay? I don't need to know it all. I don't need to know it all. I don't need to know it all. I don't need to know it all.
That was beautiful.
Awesome.
Pretty. Thank you,
Awesome.
That was
Rose.
excellent. That was so pretty.
Thanks.
Really nice.
Such a great song.
Thanks. Ooh, that's
That-
fun.
One more?
Like overtones to the interview as
I
well.
know, I was
like,
noticing it
"Ah, I got goosebumps. I was like, oh,
I know, it was weird. Yeah, I
Just
noticed
talking
that
about
too.
that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Lonely West.
All right. That'll be fun.
In my chilly east, in my lonely west, in my lion's lair, in my eagle's nest, I get high when I hear your name. I get high when I hear your name. I get high, I get high, I get high when I hear your name.
so much.
Thank you very much, Chuck.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I look forward to hear it. I don't even know what we talked about.
Find out more about Kris, where she's playing on this tour, and also purchase her music at krisdelmhorst.com. A special thanks again to Rose Polenzani for sitting in as my co-host, and also to Club Passim for their amazing hospitality. Go to abovethebasement.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen and subscribe to our podcast, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, and look at all the nice pictures we post on Instagram. We are everywhere. On behalf of Ronnie, Rose, and myself, thanks for listening. Tell your friends, and remember, Boston music, like its history, is unique.